We have all seen the familiar egg in the frying pan images or commercials illustrating the impact that drugs have on your brain. In this multimodality presentation, we're going to take a look at the facts about how drugs impact your brain and behavior. I will use images to appeal to visual learners, voice and music to appeal to auditory learners, and I will ask all my kinesthetic learners out there to act out certain aspects of this production. How do drugs affect the brain? The brain is a communication center consisting of billions of neurons, or nerve cells. Drugs alter the brain stem, which is the part of the brain necessary for sustaining life, through motor and sensory control. They also alter the limbic system of the brain. The limbic regulates the ability to feel pleasure. The cerebral cortex, the part of the brain that powers the ability to think, is also altered by drug use. How do drugs work in the brain to produce pleasure? Most drugs of abuse, directly or indirectly, target the brain's reward system by flooding the circuit with dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter present in regions of the brain that regulate movement, emotion, cognition, motivation, and feelings of pleasure. The overstimulation of this system, which rewards our natural behaviors, produces the euphoric effects sought by people who abuse drugs and teaches them to repeat the behavior. When some drugs like cocaine are taken, they can release 2 to 10 times the amount of dopamine. The resultant effects on the brain's pleasure circuit dwarfs those produced by natural rewards, such as food and even sex. How do drugs affect behavior? At first, people may perceive what seem to be positive effects with drug use. They also may believe they can control their use. However, drugs can quickly take over their lives. Consider how a social drinker can become intoxicated, put himself or herself behind a wheel, and quickly turn a pleasurable activity into a tragedy for themselves and others. Over time, if drug use continues, pleasurable activities become less pleasurable, and drug use becomes necessary for abusers to simply feel normal. Drug users reach a point where they seek and take drugs despite the tremendous problems caused for themselves and their loved ones. Some individuals may start to feel the need to take higher or more frequent doses even in the early stages of their drug use. This picture was taken while looking through Fatal Vision goggles. Fatal Vision goggles simulate the effect large quantities of alcohol can have on your motor functions. Now take a second and imagine how hard it would be to drive like this. Learning about the outcomes of drug interactions with certain areas of the brain and central nervous system can improve your comprehension of how each of those areas works and the effects they each have on human behavior. As mentioned earlier, drugs can alter multiple areas of the brain, including the brain stem that is essential for sustaining life through motor and sensory control, the limbic system that regulates the ability to feel pleasure, and the cerebral cortex that powers the ability to think. This really aids the understanding of why drug use causes impairment with many different faculties such as judgment, decision-making, learning, memory, and behavior control. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.